to be on the Invincible.
That was lit.
This man right here is a bad man.
We can do some damage on some churros down there.
Yeah!
Hello and welcome. My name is Vince Wolfram, and this is Invincible, the show where analysis meets the stories of the plays, the players, and the pursuit of becoming invincible both on and off the field. We've got a recap of week one of the college football season, and I'm thankful it's back. The whole college football world is happy to see college football back, and it delivered in this first weekend. A lot of action, a lot of upsets, big games, big wins, and to help me break it down, we've got the one and only Kanyen Sheerin. You know him, you love him. TND Takeover in the building. Kanyen, my man, what's happening?
What up, Vince? How you doing? What a week. I don't think you could ask for a better opening weekend of college football. We got 3 top 10 matchups. One gets played tonight. It started off with Texas, Ohio State, Lee Corso send-off. Just what a weekend, dude. One of those weekends where you kind of just sit back and smile and you're just like, man, I love college football. And I think everybody at home says they love college football. I hope, at least if they're listening to this, they love college football. So college football rocks. And let's get into it.
It's almost a guaranteed. If the viewers are watching this right now, you know where their love stands. And this weekend, it was probably shared with the couch as well. I know mine was certainly sitting down and watching all these games because college football is back, and we're here to break it down. Let's talk first game. Obviously, it was the first one of the day. A lot of news. You mentioned the Lee Corso thing. That was quite the tribute by both ESPN and Fox, the media networks combined to highlight such a legend in TV, in broadcasting, as we're doing right now, but also in the game of football itself. Quite the way to start it off. But let's start our conversation today with Texas and Ohio State. Obviously, Ohio State, the returning national champions. Texas ranked number 1. A lot of hype behind quarterback number 1, Arch Manning. Ends up going in Ohio State's favor, 14-7, a low-scoring one. People might see it as a fluke, but I know you and I see this game in a little bit different of a way.
Yeah, before I touch on that game, you mentioned Lee Corso real quick, and I think we would be all doing ourselves a discredit if we didn't give a big shout-out to Lee. Lee turned so many people into college football fans throughout the years and his impact. And I know he had a lot of tributes, and I'm going to keep saying it, okay? I think college football yesterday was special. He picked Florida State. Florida State beat Bama, okay? We'll talk about that later. But, all 6 of the schools that he coached at all won yesterday. It's Magic. Beautiful. He went 4 for 4 in his picks. He's on a roll, and it's just one of those things that just you love to see it. But speaking on Texas, Ohio State, yeah, man, one of those games where I think I would pay a lot of money to see the all 22 of that film. Just a defensive masterclass from both sides. And it's one of those things, one of those games really where you're watching. It looked like one of those classic old-style Big Ten football games. But what really made that game different is that those are not 2 classic old-style Big Ten offenses. Those are 2 really innovative and 2 of the best offenses in college football. So to see those offenses struggle the way they did, I don't think struggle was even the correct word. I think both those offenses fell victim per se to just 2 really, really, really elite defenses. Okay, those defenses, the amount of NFL players on that roster are just insane. And when we speak about NFL talent on rosters, I think we're doing a discredit if we don't mention Caleb Downs. I think Caleb Downs has shown not just once against Tennessee, he showed it last year. Against Texas, he showed it last year. Caleb Downs can shut down one side of the field, both sides of the field. The way he can play the back end as a safety, the way he can come up and make a tackle. I think Caleb Downs is the best player in college football right now. I don't think it's really a debate. I think you could even argue that he's been the best player since he was a freshman in college football. And those are just some of those things where that game was just really cool. And I think college football won by having that game week 1.
College football fans would agree with your sentiment on that. The best player in college football, arguably since he was a freshman, but certainly now Caleb Downs for Ohio State. I think Ohio State really gained their advantage in this game in a simple way. They drained a lot of clock. Looking back on it, they had long drives, sustained drives. In the first half, they ate up 8 minutes on a drive, took up some clock. And that was their hope, was to keep the Texas offense off the field for as long as they could. A hard team to prepare for with a new quarterback, both teams with new starting quarterbacks too. So that was something I'm sure that was difficult to prepare for. But getting the ball back on the 10-yard line, 8 minutes left in the game, giving a 4-minute drive, limiting the amount of time Texas had to go score, I think was a big piece of why Ohio State won. And that's something that Coach Day emphasized after the game as well. He put a lot of trust in his new starting quarterback, Julian Sayin, who I thought, frankly, showed a lot of really, really important tools. I don't think the game caller, the offensive play caller, even got to really put him in situations to where he could go make a play. It was a relatively conservative, relatively simply called game, I thought, for Julian. And Coach Day said, I thought he handled himself well, took care of the ball, made some throws when he needed to, didn't force it, and he had the same thought. Maybe they could have thrown him a little more of a curve in it and to see what he can do, but after all, it is just week one.
100%. I think Julian Sayin had a really good game. You mentioned the stats in time of possession. That was definitely Ohio State's game plan. They had the home field advantage. They wanted to have the ball ultimately. But when you look at the stats box score-wise, I mean, Texas had more yards of total offense, more yards rushing. If you would have told me that Texas was going to go to Ohio State and rush for as many yards as they did, average 4.5 yards a rush, and they walked away there with a loss, I would have thought this is a joke. But, I mean, ultimately, I think really the difference maker in this game was the home field advantage for Ohio State, and I don't want to be that guy. But when you have a freshman, not even necessarily a freshman, I guess Julian Sayin's technically a freshman, redshirt. But then when you have Arch coming in for his first road start, and I mean, Arch, we can get into that after this topic, but the home field advantage played a massive factor. Julian Sayin being able to sit back and change play calls and communication's much easier with his offensive coordinator because they get till, I think, 15 seconds to communicate with the coordinator. So there's just a lot of factors. But I think the game changers in this game were Jeremiah Smith, home field advantage, and Caleb Downs. I think that was one thing Texas also really struggled with. The wide receivers have to play better. Arch has to play better. But overall, I was impressed by both teams. And, I don't think there was – on the stat sheet, there's a loser of that game, but I don't think either team really lost. I think both teams are going to get better after this week.
100%. And Ryan Day emphasized that importance of the atmosphere in his postgame. Let's take a listen now.
I also want to thank the fans. What an unbelievable atmosphere. From, driving in this morning from my house, seeing everybody at game day, at big noon kickoff, seeing people around the stadium, tailgating, and then the atmosphere in the stadium when we came out for warm-ups. I mean, there wasn't very many empty seats. And for a noon kickoff, to have that many people in the stadium was amazing. And so for an atmosphere like that, week one, to bring everybody together was great for our team. And I think it made a huge difference in the fourth quarter. So I want to thank, I say all the time, it takes everybody. And the fans certainly brought it today. And, I'm just proud of our guys. Just a gritty win to start the season.
So obviously Ryan Day knows the home field advantage, certainly a thing. And in week one, you're going to get that in many of these top Power 5 schools, but especially the defending national champs. And one thing I noted in his presser that he said after the game is, we talked about it this week. In week one, we can't beat ourselves. We wanted to let them, meaning Texas, beat us. And unfortunately for the Longhorns, that seemed to kind of have been the case.
Yeah, I mean, that's honestly true, and I think the same exact thing could be said for Texas. If you look at Sark's play calling in the first half especially, it seemed almost as if both teams were playing not to lose, right? Like, they weren't playing to win. And I think late in the fourth quarter, you finally saw Texas' offense come alive and Arch look a little bit more comfortable because Texas' offense actually looked like Texas' offense. And that was the key. And this is one of those games where those defenses were playing so well that it's one of those old school gritty battles where if you get that one turnover, you win the game. Ohio State got that one turnover, they won the game. So I think it really was just a battle of who's not going to lose this game rather than who's really going to win that game. But yeah, Ryan Day was spot on right there.
Yeah, and the execution, I thought, was maybe the part that Texas lacked a little more of than Ohio State. You look at the numbers, right? And I'm sure Texas last night heading into today is thinking about red zone. They were 0 for 2 in the red zone. They were 5 for 14 on third down, 1 for 5 on fourth down, 6 penalties for 50 yards. Like they had time and time again had these chances to keep that offensive flow going and it was halted either by penalties or by the inability to make the play and move the markers. Just tough spots. And those fourth downs when you're right on the goal line, I think come week 2, week 3, week 4, as the season progresses, that's something that Texas won't falter on if they get the chance again.
It's one of those things that Texas fans have struggled with for a long time since Sark took the job at Texas. The red zone offense has been something that has been, quite frankly, given Texas fans nightmares, right? Sark has not been able to figure it out. What the key is there, I don't think anybody knows the answer. Sark doesn't know the answer. Sark's first question at SEC Media Days this fall was about his red zone offense, and brutally enough, the way Texas season ended last year is the way they lose week 1 again. It all comes full circle when you don't take care of red zone offense, and a lot of teams in the country who have bad red zone offenses usually don't win too many football games, and that's just the reality of college football.
2 sentiments I can give of positivity towards Texas is, one, this is just a measuring stick to see where Texas is at. A new group coming in this year, going away on the road in week 1 to play in not only the Corso game and the heightened energy of that, but also just to play in a defending national champions home field. The shoe, never easy. Second half was different than the first. And also, I noted Arch in his postgame, there was a reporter that said, at the end of the season, when you look back at this game, do you think you'll say, wow, that was the worst performance I had all year, but I'm glad I had that. And he said, exactly, I sure hope so, which got a laugh out of the press conference room. He said, I think I beat myself up today. We beat ourselves up today. I think we're going to look back and say, wow, we've improved a lot. So a lot to look forward to. And I think they're excited to get back to the drawing board ahead of week 2. That's something they all mentioned in that post game. So that was the first game of the day, right? Supplied plenty of energy. If we just had that game, I think we all would have been just all right. You know, it was one of those.
There was a lot of complaints on that game, and I don't know. I guess people don't like watching defense anymore. I know. But back in the day, you guys used to love to make fun of the Big 12 for not playing defense and used to act like that was a bad product of football. Fun fact, the offense was just ahead of the time. I'll go to war for this. I always will go to war for this. There's a reason why Alabama's offense looked so good when they actually moved to a good scheme that wasn't hand the ball to Derrick Henry 50 times. But that's a conversation for a different day, and I don't feel like getting into that right now. But yeah, you spoke lastly on Arch Manning. One thing I want to hit is Arch Manning, man, like, if you're Arch Manning, it's one of those performances that you will look back on, and I think you will be the most grateful for of all time. For Arch Manning, dude, I can't imagine. Like, put yourself in Arch Manning's shoes. First off, nobody can. Okay? Nope. Nobody, not a single college football player in college football history could ever put themselves in Arch Manning's shoes. Nope. Arch Manning is at arguably the biggest brand in college football, has 2 Hall of Fame family members, right? Eli Manning, Peyton Manning. His dad's a legend. I mean, the whole family's a legend. Archie's a legend. He came into this game, and not only did he come into this game never playing a road game before, he came into this game never playing a road game before as the Heisman favorite. Like let that sit in. And not only was he playing a road game, he was playing a road game at Ohio State. And I'm not going to lie, okay? Ohio State fans hate me. I don't know why. Go blue. But that fan base gets loud, man. Like, go turn on the Tennessee game from last year in the college football playoff. I mean, that fan base was loud. Go turn on the game from yesterday at Texas. I mean, that team was loud. Also, another factor I think Texas fans and everybody in college football needs to factor in, Texas got 4 new guys on the offensive line. Okay, when you rotate in that many new guys, there was a 4th down play where the right tackle, Brandon Baker, just completely busted. Just completely missed his man, right? And those are things that'll get fixed up with time, but Brandon Baker's uber talented guy, 5-star, but he's just got to get those fundamentals and experience together. So I think overall, any Arch Manning hate or wow, he's going to stink, definitely needs to hit the brakes. But I do also think Arch Manning's going to be fine, okay? Let's just, case in point, Arch is going to be fine. He's going to do what he needs to do at Texas. That Texas team is still absurdly talented, nothing to take away. Ohio State just had a better day, and that happens sometimes on the football field. But last thing on the Arch Manning that I have to say is A lot of Texas fans gave Quinn crap last year, and I think a lot of Texas fans need to appreciate what Quinn Ewers did for that university, not in any slander towards Arch Manning, but Quinn Ewers put Texas back on the map. Quinn Ewers is the best quarterback to grace Texas since Colt McCoy, and I think Quinn did not get the love he deserved during his years at Texas, and that's what I had to say.
100%. And I think, too, on the Arch point, there's a level of inhumanity that comes with being a star, with the family that he has, with the spotlight that he's been on, and what I think this game will do for him. To your exact point, there will be no better test, there will be no better gift looking forward 10 weeks from now than the fact that he had this game. And what I think it does is it humanizes the situation. It might take a little bit of pressure off, but nobody's expecting this god in week 2. They saw him. He's been in the flesh. He's done he's back to a human level. Yeah, I hope for him now.
That's one thing that people thought he was Henry Cavill Superman from Man of Steel coming in this game, right? Like they put these absurd expectations on him. At the end of the day, he is a human. Okay, sports psychology is real. Okay, your favorite team has a sports psychologist. Okay, these athletes don't check social media because when they have a bad game, because they know you're hating on them, they know it messes with their mental fortitude. Okay, so like there's a lot that goes into it, and I think it's the biggest weight off his shoulders. He's no longer the Heisman favorite. He just gets to go out there and play football again. I think that's all Arch really wanted. And I mean, just not beyond Arch's debut, just what a weekend game that was. Lee Corso, there was so much going on. Ohio State celebrating their national championship. I mean, the stakes couldn't have been higher for Arch, on top of all the other pressure he already had due to outside media and media expectations. I think, like I said, Arch can be fine. Tex can be fine. Sark said he was going to let him rip. And I think Sark actually needs to let him rip, run that RPO, let him use his legs and truly let it rip in his best way. And yeah, he definitely looked a little shaky, but first game jitter's gone. Probably one of the most intimidating environments he'll play in all year, if not the most, probably the most due to environmental circumstances, game circumstances. And it's just one game in the belt, put it in the back and move on.
Yeah, and I think you're so right too on the getting him involved early, right? He's one of those guys where he takes a hit and that makes him a little better. It gets the juices flowing. I think they should focus maybe on even getting his legs going a little more early. Get him kind of in that mode, get him in that flow of the game, and see if he can take off from there.
100%.
All right, let's head down to the next one, the next big game of the night, right? We're the Battle of Death Valleys, going down to Clemson, LSU. That game ended up in the favor of the Tigers in yellow and purple. Brian Kelly and company came into Death Valley and won 17-10. This was an interesting one. The first half a little slower on the offensive side, kind of picked up in the second half, but just an overall interesting one. And the narrative around it right now is, from what I've seen, is do we have to look at this LSU team differently now that they have defense?
Yeah, Blake Baker, year 2, I think everybody expected this defense to take a leap. We didn't know just how big of a leap they would take, but they certainly did take a leap, right? And I think one thing that was the biggest, most impressive thing for LSU this weekend was just how their transfers molded together, especially on the defensive side of the ball. You don't see it often. They brought in a lot of transfer guys, addressed starters, depth pieces. They added attrition like no other, and I think that was very clear, especially defensively. And I mean, you saw transfers everywhere flying around for that team, and I think it's just really, really cool to see them all come together and mold over what what's the time? 6 months, 7 months. So that was really cool. And Blake Baker, I think has put college football on notice that he's one of the best defensive coordinators in college football, like he did when he was at Mizzou. And it was cool to see Harold Perkins back out there. He looked healthy. He looked good. He looked ready to roll.
Defense improved, certainly looked stronger, looked ready to rock. One guy that stood out to me, Mansour Delane, the transfer from Virginia Tech, looked at those numbers, 8 targets at him, 1 reception allowed, had an interception, 3 forced incompletions. He was a guy on the end that really stood out to me. But I guess aside from the defense, from the corners, the line I thought really forced Cade Klubnik to make it. Put a lot of pressure on him. Frankly, they threw a lot at Cade, in my opinion, and just getting him to make uncharacteristic decisions, having Dabo Swinney basically shut down the run game earlier than he would have liked. I thought that played a pretty big part in it too, because Clemson wasn't effective running the ball at all. I mean, 32 yards total on 19 rushing attempts, and I think they got away from it too early, but also that's a credit to the defensive line that LSU has produced and how they played last night.
Yeah, man, LSU's D-line was really, really good, and we came into this game expecting that the Clemson front seven was going to be one of the best front sevens, if not the best front seven in college football, right, from its pure talent standpoint. And they returned so much. It looked on paper like, wow, right? I mean, yeah, you mentioned that running game. Shout out LSU's defensive line, right, but also Clemson and not taking a portal running back. There's a lot of question marks for Dabo, and why are we moving a wide receiver to running back in the year 2025, Dabo? You know, it gets to a point where we've got to come to the reality. And Dabo, you go spend millions on a coordinator, defensive coordinator, but you won't chunk up a few $100,000 for a talented running back out of the portal. Didn't make much sense to me, to be fully honest. And I think it was really apparent that no running game just hurt Clemson as a whole. Their offense staggered because it forced them to throw the football probably more times than they like. Coming to the ball 38 times. Having no running game, having no sense of presence on the offensive line gives Blake Baker, the guy who schemes up crazy blitzes, just the advantage to kind of do what he wants, right? Like, so when they can't run the ball and they're strictly passing it, Blake Baker's having himself the greatest day of his life, right? He's like, I'm going to run a stunt blitz here. I'm going to run corner blitz here. I'm going to bring the nickel over here and make him just troll. I thought he's blitzing. I'm going to line up both my linebackers like they're coming up. So Blake Baker had fun because they couldn't run the ball. LSU had fun because Clemson could not run the ball. And Clemson's offensive line struggled in pass protection, probably largely in due part because they couldn't run the ball, right? So it's a domino effect, and Clemson just – I'm just be flat out. I don't know how long the Clemson segment needs to be, solely because of the fact that I was really, really disappointed in Clemson. Hats off to LSU, but Clemson returned 17 starters, and they just did not look the part. And they were my preseason number one team. I stand on it. I thought that team returned 17 guys. I was like, oh my gosh, Dabo, I would argue, is the most proven head coach in college football. But Dabo's reluctancy to use the portal at an elite level, like a program like LSU, who only returned 7 guys. Like, let that sink in. LSU returned 7, Clemson returned 17, and LSU just ran laps on them in Death Valley, fake Death Valley context. It's just crazy, right? Like, I don't know how many transfers LSU brought in. It was a lot. I think it's like 20 plus, some astronomical number. And it's a difference maker, man. That's why you got to love college football in week 1 right now, because a team can bring back 17. But if you hit on that transfer portal class, like another team that we're going to talk about here soon, a lot can happen, and you can make magic happen.
What I thought was the difference on the field, right? Dabo talked about it after the game. He was prepared for what he thought the LSU defense would throw at him, a cover 1 defense with a single safety. They prepared for that, and yet they still played the way they did. The execution was the difference. LSU, they blitzed Cade Klubnik 67% of the time. So 2/3 of the plays they were blitzing Cade Klubnik. Clemson didn't answer to that pressure at all. If anything, they faltered. The Clemson defense was tough, but Garrett Nussmeier did his thing and knifed right through it. An interesting stat I saw on Nussmeier, an average of 2.1 seconds for time to throw. He is going like quick. Got to get the ball out quick. And when you go 28-38 with just over 230 yards and a touchdown, and you lead the team in the second half the way he did, it was a first half to second half adjustment that jumped off the page for me from Nussmeier.
Yeah, I think LSU made the right adjustments. Clemson didn't. I would be doing Clemson fans a disservice. Antonio Williams going down definitely did not help them to that offense, right? But at the end of the day, like, dude, you're Clemson. Okay, people have you winning the national championship. When you're winning the national championship, you need to be able to replace a guy, okay? Like, he might be your wide receiver 1. Like, prime example is Texas last year, going into the year, C.J. Baxter, okay, out for the year. Starting running back that was a freshman phenom, out for the year. Guess what? Texas reloaded, had a guy in Trey Wisner who led the SEC in rushing last year, right? Or is the leading returning rusher in the SEC. So you got to be able to do that, and Clemson's just not at the pace to do that right now. But LSU, Nussmeier, those adjustments were beautiful. And LSU also got robbed of a touchdown. I thought Brown caught that ball. So really it was like a 2-touchdown game, in my opinion. I know Clemson had a little chance there at the end, but in the second half, I think LSU just looked like flat out the better team, and it was just it's weird watching Clemson lose at home, dude. It's weird. They went through that stretch of 40-something wins in a row, 50-something with Trevor Lawrence, where they were winning home games by like 50 every time. Okay, and so it's weird watching them lose, but Clemson's got a long way. There's a long season. Okay, and they played in the ACC. They can still. I'm not writing Clemson off yet. They were still my preseason number 1 team, but they've got to put it together, and it's got to happen quite quickly, in my opinion.
Tiger fans on both sides keep their high hopes. He's got a question here, Kanyen.
Yeah, question. Not a question, statement. Not a question, statement. Shout out LSU's offensive line. Bunch of dogs, okay? I ranked that LSU team, I think, 10 in my preseason rankings. And the reason why I was like, dude, too many transfers, offensive line, I was worried, okay? I was like, dude, that just didn't suit me.
4 new starters on the O-line for LSU.
And them dudes balled against a very, very good front seven. So shout out the LSU offensive line. You guys deserve to go to the best steakhouse in LSU, and Garrett Nussmeier deserves to buy you dinner.
Whip out the PayPal there, Garrett. Start paying the bills for these guys. They deserve it. So, all right, let's take it to another team in the ACC that played at home this week. Alabama at Florida State. And if it wasn't for Lee Corso, nobody would have predicted this one. But the Noles come out on top in week 1, 31-17. Biggest difference maker in this one was what in your mind?
Well, first off, go Noles, okay? Shout out Lee Corso. Also, there's also a really spectacular guy at TND Takeover on Instagram who also somewhat predicted a Noles upset. He said it would be a 4-quarter ball game. Now, I did not necessarily outright say they were going to win, but I also did not lie to you. I thought the Noles would be in this game. I think the difference maker of this game, it comes down to Gus Malzahn, man. It's simple. Gus Malzahn and Tommy wanting to be a dog. Okay, Tommy got benched last year at BC, got beaten up, injured, and dude, he came out there like I want to be here. Okay, and Gus called plays like, man, I hate Alabama, and damn right. Not saying I hate Alabama, but Gus should still hate Alabama, right? So it's one of those things where, dude, it was cool. College football is better when Florida State is good. Dude, that Doak was rocking, okay? Last year, Doak stunk. That stadium was under construction. Still hate that they did that to Doak. Ruined my chomp. Fooled chomp. Hate they did that. But that stadium was rocking, and it was so fun to watch as a college football fan. Difference maker was Tommy, Gus, and that defense, dude. That Florida State defense woke up, and I'm sure you'll throw some stats at me, but wow, did that defense wake up after that first drive by Alabama.
Tommy, just a couple of months ago, said at ACC Media Day, they don't have Nick Saban to save them. I just don't see them stopping me. And, well, Mr. Tommy Castellanos, you sure lived up to that one, and I think your teammates answered the call as well because you came ringing 9 for 14, 152 yards through the air, 16 rushes, 78 yards on the ground, and a touchdown. There was a level of backing that you felt Florida State did behind Castellanos under center, and he had that long pass on the touchdown to Lucas, and then the pitch, or I guess not a touchdown, but scored on that drive with the pitch play. And after that, you could just tell the momentum was with Florida State. And Alabama, in my eyes, didn't show very much oomph. Like you were waiting on the moment where, in a Nick Saban era, that Alabama would have started to come back and the drives would have started to pile up and the score would be closer. But that never really came. It was Florida State's first win against an AP top 10 team in just over 2 years, and they did it, and I thought, in emphasizing fashion.
Yeah, man, just weird. Okay, I use the word weird in the sense of we just watched Alabama get out-physicaled in the trenches badly. Okay? Badly against a team that went 2-10 last year. And I get it, right? It's the year of the portal. You can rebuild a team quickly. Okay, and Mike Norvell's pretty damn good in the portal. But that badly at the University of Alabama? I mean, Alabama fans should be disgusted, dude. Like, And the funny part is all offseason we watched their TikToks. We heard Kalen DeBoer rave about how they had such a good fall camp, right? Like we heard all these things, and these Tide fans, they sipped the Kool-Aid. And it's almost weird saying Alabama fans sip the Kool-Aid because Alabama fans haven't had to sip the Kool-Aid, okay? The Kool-Aid has been on a fountain.
Yeah,
and
they had a deal. They had a deal with Kool-Aid. They didn't have to buy it.
They had the Powerade Blue on demand, okay? The Powerade Blue that can revive you. No, I'm not talking about this one. I'm talking about the one that you get at Mama G's in Auburn, okay? The one where you press the button and that Powerade Blue comes, it's like magic, okay? Called a Blue Shield, a chug jug for if you will, right? And so they haven't had to sip the Kool-Aid, okay? The Kool-Aid has been self-served. And for the first time in a long time, Alabama fans had to sip the offseason Kool-Aid, and that Kool-Aid didn't have enough sugar. It didn't have enough sugar. Okay, there was something wrong with that Kool-Aid, and I don't know what the answer is for Alabama. And I know we're going to be quick to put it all, or Alabama fans are going to be quick to put it all on Ty Simpson. That game was not only on Ty Simpson. Okay, that was a lack of effort from everybody on that team. That offensive line had Ty Simpson running for his life, and an offensive line that is supposedly supposed to be one of the best in college football. There's a lot of things that just didn't look good. In Alabama's defense, no Tim Keenan on the defensive line hurts, right? He is elite. No Jim Miller. He's hurt. A good running back. Their starting running back, that hurts too. But at the end of the day, Alabama should not be losing a game to Florida State, man. Not with how talented that roster is, okay? Their EA College Football 26 rating is way too high for them to lose that damn game. That's what I know for damn sure.
I am certainly inclined to agree with you, but I want to give Florida State the credit that they deserve because they came in and like you mentioned, the defensive strategy from Coach White was elite in blowing straight through the offensive line that, like you mentioned, has NFL prospects plastered all over it. The win yesterday equals the amount of wins they had through their first 10 games last year, right? They started 1-9, not good. Second win against Alabama in their program's history, the first since 2007. And one thing I like that Tommy said after the game that you touched on in the sense of Alabama, he said you can't drink the praise, it's like poison. And in a sense that's what we feel maybe Alabama fans are doing now, right? And I saw this stat and I had to bring it forth. Nick Saban, and I hate comparing these two, but it's what Alabama is, right? They're built on each other. Nick Saban coached 235 games at Alabama and only had 4 losses against AP unranked teams. Kalen DeBoer has coached all of 14 games at Alabama and has 4 losses against AP unranked teams. There's a difference, Kanyen Sheerin. There's a difference.
Yeah, I threw up the 4s because I knew exactly what stat you were about to spew at me, and I'm not even looking at your notes. Crazy part. Didn't even send me them, guys. I'm doing all this off the dome, by the way. This is ridiculous.
All right, twin, let's do it.
This is ridiculous. Okay?
Let's do it.
But yeah, it's one of those things where also – I don't want Florida State fans to feel like I'm knocking them. They had a hell of a game. I know I gave them my respect. I feel my first statement about them. No knocks to them. They played their tails off, and they looked really, really good. They looked like a encouraged team. They looked like a team that actually had fight, which if you're a Florida State fan, that's all you wanted because last year, man, that was so depressing. They just didn't look like they didn't want to be playing football. And so all praise goes to Florida State, Tommy, that defense, Gus, Mike Norvell being able to use the portal and prove people wrong yet again. With you can't build a team through the portal, Mike Norvell said, watch me do it again.
Yep.
Okay, he said, watch me do it again. It's one of those full circle moments where it feels sweet. Okay, they got snubbed from the playoffs in 2013. And so for them to get that win is pretty huge for the program. And for Alabama fans, yeah, something's got to change. He threw the Kalen DeBoer, Nick Saban said at you, I wasn't going to hit you that deep in the heart, but Vince did it. That's
just
kind
stats,
of
baby.
It's a hard one, and sometimes stats are the hardest thing to swallow because that's reality, right? You can't fake a stat. Okay, I don't know what the issue is at Bama, but I will tell you that defensive coordinator better be shaking in his boots because I don't know how much longer he's going to have his job if he continues to coach a defense that looks like that.
And Alabama, I'll give you a slight bit of hope here. It's not over, right? Kalen DeBoer, he's proven to be a solid coach in college football. Fan base had bought in, and now they believe they're in a sellout place. Like, yes, losing in week 1 gets real, and it gets real awfully fast. But you got to look a little bit past that, I think, if they're them. Yes, the future can be daunting when you lose a game like this. You don't know what to expect. Is this going to be the team all year? We just don't know. It's week one. Nick Saban has also mentioned how when he showed back up at practice, there was a different culture. I don't know if that's something that Alabama fans should be scared of, if they should think, oh, he's figuring out this new look Alabama. I don't know what that meant when he said that, but they were words that came out of his mouth, a guy who had ran that program for the longest time. I don't know that it's reason to panic, and especially in today's world where there's a 12-team playoff and you can get in with a couple of losses. For Florida State, it should fire them up. For Alabama, I say don't lose hope. Plenty of good games that can get you back up in the rankings the rest of the year.
If I had a panic button and I was an Alabama fan, I clicked it in the third quarter of that ball game. Actually, matter of fact, I probably clicked it in the fourth quarter because Florida State gave you multiple times to show that you were still big, bad Alabama, and you did not show that you were big, bad Alabama. And I'm hitting the panic button, okay? I don't want to be that Debbie Downer. Of course, just like Clemson, Alabama can rebound from this. Clemson's loss was nowhere near as bad, okay? Yep. Two different circumstances, so let's not compare those two. But if I'm an Alabama fan, I'm worried. Team's got to look better. Ryan Williams also announced out with concussion, so Ryan Williams will be gone for a few weeks. He didn't look that great. No. He didn't look like the Ryan Williams I watched last year. And so if I'm an Alabama fan, I pressed the panic button. I didn't press the I'm in full distress button yet. Okay, they're not. You know, they don't need life alert yet, but they should definitely be in panic mode. Just they've got a tough schedule and a long ways ahead. They still got to go to at Georgia, if I'm correct. And Georgia, them dogs is hell, man. Them dogs is hell.
Yeah, that's the truth. I think in terms of being big, bad Alabama, I wonder, the curious part of me wonders, is that still a thing? Is big, bad Alabama still a thing? I Coach DeBoer in the offseason is a guy that's out of the limelight. They don't seem as big, bad Alabama to me anymore. And if that's warranting a panic button, I'm hitting it too because I don't feel it. But it's just a matter of how much time do you give DeBoer to come in and really, really right this ship?
But he's not righting the ship. I mean, the ship was already there. All he had to do was get in the ship.
Righting the ship from week one is more what I meant. I didn't mean righting the ship that's saving left.
He was in a damn sailboat. All he had to do was roll the tide. Okay, he didn't have to do anything special. Yeah. The board just had to roll the tide. And last year was the excuse he didn't have Grubb. Okay, Grubb is there now. Okay, Grubb said, I think we'll do better this year with a quarterback who can pass the ball. Alabama fans, yes, your offensive coordinator actually said that. So we all know somebody last year was not the best sometimes at passing the ball. But Bama fans, you were the first to say that loud and proud, so I don't feel bad saying it. But, I mean, he's got to right. He's not righting the ship that was left him, okay?
I meant righting the ship from this week one bad loss is more what I meant.
All he's doing is he needs to just right his own ship. Don't know if he can do it. He can't just roll the tide anymore. He has to create his own tide because they look like a program that needs some help right now. Sorry, by the way, I took that in the wrong context, and my apology. But
no, you're okay. Because there are fans who think that while Saban did leave, this guy has to be the next coming, which we've found out very fast is not the case.
There's never going to be another Nick Saban. Just like there's never going to be another Barry Switzer. Okay,
which is why I think the expectation needs to go from here way over here because it's a different team. I don't think Big Bad Alabama exists, and it won't until something massive changes.
Don't let John Summerall go coach Alabama.
That Alabama loss was the second win for this certain fan base this week. The first one came on Friday at Baylor. Auburn headed down to Waco to take on the Baylor Bears in week one. We can see my guy repping the ball. He's got it on his shirt. He's got it on the rock. Kanyen, what did you think the biggest difference maker was? Auburn-Baylor. How did Auburn come out on top?
Auburn didn't beat themselves.
For the first time in the history of the program.
For the first time in the Hugh Freeze era, Auburn did not beat themselves. I mean, it's crazy to think about that, right? I think Auburn led going in the fourth quarter 4 games last year, and they lost every single one of them. So it's maybe they went 1-4. Sorry, Auburn fans, you can yell at me for getting that stat wrong, but it wasn't good. And I think all you guys know it wasn't good. So they didn't beat themselves. They played good fundamental ball. The secondary definitely beat themselves, and that needs to get addressed ASAP, like Rocky. But they'll figure it out. Sawyer Robinson is also a really, really, really good quarterback, probably a top 10 quarterback in college football.
Agreed.
Spavital, their offensive coordinator, was at Texas State as the head coach. Got the Texas State head coaching job because his offensive genes are really good. He's really good offensive coordinator. They had a top 20 offense last year, so we knew they were going to be able to move the ball offensively. I think Baylor, just where their struggles were in the trenches. Auburn looked much better in the trenches. Couldn't stop the run and save their lives, and that's just the difference between SEC and Big 12 right now. Don't want to be that guy, but if you don't win in the trenches, you're not going to win the football game most of the time. And yeah, I think I was really shocked, genuine shock. Fully did not think Auburn would go to Waco and win by double digits. And I'd also like to preference, I'm an Auburn alum, and I know I talked about Bama, and I don't want you guys to think that I have this hatred for Bama because I didn't even grow up an Auburn fan. Okay, my degree just says Auburn on it. Don't get me wrong, I love Auburn. But yeah, all right, keep going.
The indifferency there, that's good.
Yeah.
Look at this neutral reporter, this guy, this national TND fella. He's got it going on. I think Auburn, the win in Baylor was certainly impressive. And I know I expected more of a low-scoring affair. If you remember the California game at Cal, that was kind of a vibe that I might have expected. An offense still figuring it out, a defense that was maybe a step ahead of the offense, and two teams just clashing, and whoever was lucky enough to score the most points would end up winning. That wasn't the case. The Jackson Arnold use of his legs was certainly impressive. I don't love the fact that he did stay in the pocket for more than 1 second the entire game, and utilize the wide receiver core that they do have with Cam Coleman and Eric Singleton and the depth of receivers that Hugh Freeze has built on that roster. But I will say I like that he showed this athleticism now. The jitters are out. Next week he'll be able to test what that pocket looks like, maybe a little more. And I'm sure that's something Freeze will emphasize this week is he's got to be able to pass the ball because he's not going to be able to run over SEC defenses like he did against Baylor.
Yeah, I think Jackson Arnold looked really, really, really impressive. Obviously, you would like to see him use his arm more, but a wise man once said, if it ain't broke, don't go fix it. So there was no point of really Auburn trying to throw the football because I remember very vividly last year Auburn leading a ball game in the fourth quarter, and they try to throw the football at home, and it's a pick six the other way, and they lose the game. So I think for Auburn fans, it was actually a sigh of relief that they could sit there and just run the ball, and Arnold could make the right reads. And I think he did the RPO system really, really well. He made really good use of his legs. Obviously, yeah, we mentioned staying in the pocket longer, but Baylor was running a too high look almost the whole game. So they were basically telling us to run the damn ball. And guess what we did? We ran the damn ball, okay? And ran the damn ball pretty damn well, right? Probably the best rushing attack we've seen for Auburn since Jarquez did his thing against Kentucky. But that was just one of one, right? That's just Jarquez being Jarquez. But I thought Arnold looked good. And, man, isn't it crazy what a system change can do to a quarterback? Okay, Jackson Arnold had 4 defense coordinators in 2 years at Oklahoma. And 2 in a single season, right? Really, really struggled last year. Clearly was not an offensive system that fit him. And to come to Auburn and get a fresh start, I think might have been the best thing for his career because, people – they said it a lot on the broadcast, but he was really good out of high school. Okay, Gatorade Player of the Year means the best player in all of high school football. He has all the potential and talent in the world. He just needs to put it together, and I think Hugh Freeze may be able to unlock that. Still a lot to see, but I was very impressed with the ability to use his legs and to read the RPO. And he had one beautiful ball to Cam Coleman, a post route, and then he also had I want to say it was early in the first quarter, down the middle on third down, about 25-yard pass that was also really on the money. And just those things. He didn't get many opportunities to throw. He definitely left a few out there, but he also made some good throws when you actually look at the tape.
The 2022 National High School Player of the Year, returned to the Lone Star State, did what he had to do to give Auburn a win, 38-24. The Tigers come out on top in Waco. Now, Kanyen, let's head into the next part of the show. We'll do some quick breakdown. We got 4 quick little segments. The first one is we're calling it the culture check. Which program do you think showed a new identity, a new energy, a high level of chemistry in week 1 right out of the gate?
Blake Baker and LSU's defense. I think undebatably LSU's defense was the most impressive unit, not named Ohio State, but we knew Ohio State was going to be impressive, right? This was an LSU defense that we also knew needed to take a jump this year. I think they were ranked outside of the top 50 in total defense last year, right? We knew Blake Baker, year 2, needed to take a leap. And the fact they took that big of a leap on the road at night against a Clemson team that returned all their offensive linemen and returned that much talent on offense, a quarterback that has Heisman hopes, and for that defense to show up like that, man, with that many transfers, one of the I mean, if I had a hat tip, okay, here we go. Like, I mean, dude, genuinely, really, really, really impressive, and I think that was my most impressive unit, chemistry speaking, team of the weekend so far.
Culture check from Brian Kelly's group. I like it. That's a good start. Mine, I'm going to take it to the ACC because 3 teams actually, and I guess it's not the top ones that you might have expected, being Clemson. But I'm going to go Florida State. They impressed me. I really, really, really like what Castellanos was able to do. Georgia Tech, I'm going to go with them too, beating a Colorado team that I know is revamped, but there's always energy and there's always pressure on a game out in Boulder. And I'm going to go Louisville, too. I know they beat up on Eastern Kentucky, but I liked what I saw from them. Year 3 of Jeff Brom. I think that's a team that I know the ACC isn't up to par maybe with what the Big Ten and the SEC have done in years past, and there's always those teams lurking around that 10, 11, 12 mark when college football playoff selection committee time comes. I think Louisville could very well be one of those teams this year just with how the dominoes will fall. Miller Moss, the quarterback from USC, being the starter for them, and also just young, tough, bulldog guys on this roster, from Jones, the wide receivers, to the running backs being all ACC guys. I think that those 3 teams, they got the culture check for me in week 1. Gotta love it. All right, heading into the second one here. The swagger watch. Got to keep an eye on the swag. It's hard to take your eyes off it when it's just so good. Who is one player from week 1 that stood out to you that you think not just could have a big week 2, but could have a lasting impact, a big-time impact, the rest of the season?
Ooh.
And I can go first if you'd like.
Yeah, go first.
All right, I'm gonna go first. I'm gonna go with 2 different guys that I had my eye on in week 1. One of which was Auburn's Keldrick Falk, somebody all offseason you heard had been the leader of this defensive line for the Tigers. Last year we saw him dominant, was an emerging star certainly. I think he's somebody by the end of the year will be in all SEC talks. Against Baylor, 4 solo tackles, but the numbers aside, he's just a game wrecker. He's big, he's strong, he's fast, he's quick with his hands. There was one player, running back, got out for about a 15-yard gain, and who was tackling him? Keldrick Falk from the defensive line. He's just one of those athletes that it's hard to not see his impact, not just on the line, but also on the entire defense. I think he's going to be a guy to certainly keep an eye on. And also for Michigan, quarterback Bryce Underwood, his first start for the Wolverines, 21 for 31, 251 yards, 8 yards, a throw, and a touchdown. I thought for a debut for a guy who had dreamed of playing in the Big Ten his entire life, I thought it was pretty good. I know it was just a win over New Mexico, but I like what Michigan did last night, and I think that Underwood could be a solid guy for them.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Joey Aguilar. I don't know why I couldn't think of that one off the dome, but his debut for Tennessee was beautiful. 16 for 28, 247 yards, 3 touchdown passes. QBR was really high up there, I think. I don't have the exact QBR, but had himself a really good performance. Hit a deep ball in stride that Tennessee fans have been begging Nico to hit all last season that he didn't hit. They lost, by the way. Tennessee fans rejoice. UCLA lost, and Nico did not look good. But Joey Aguilar, dude, what a performance. Tennessee's offense, I doubted him. I don't want to say I doubted him. I didn't know how Joey Aguilar would fit. Didn't have the best year last year at App State, but most certainly had a very good year before that. So if that Joey Aguilar's back, Tennessee could make some noise. And I think he definitely had a element of swagger that I was not expecting out of Joey Aguilar.
There you go, college football fans. There's a couple guys to watch for week 2 and the rest of the entire season. Next, I know summer's waning and fall is here, but we're still going to focus on a little bit of a flip-flop here. We're going to confess one prediction you made ahead of week 1, and why was it dead wrong? And mine, I think, happened earlier in the week, and it was that Boise State USF game. I didn't expect USF to come out and do what they did, but they handled number 25 Boise State. I expected, yes, they lost Ashton Genty, who was their main piece, but outside of that, Boise State didn't lose a ton. So I figured that it might still be a strong thing, but not so fast, as Lee Corso would say. South Florida beating a top 25 opponent for the first time since 2016. I thought the Bulls really outdid what I thought they would. I didn't think it would be a close game. I thought Boise State would at least win by 2 touchdowns. I was completely wrong in this one. Just a dominant performance by the Bulls.
Oh, man, I have to say it again. I already made fun of myself for it once. I'll say it again. I ranked Clemson the number 1 team to start the 2025 season. I bit the bullet. I took the bait. They went 0-3 versus the SEC last year, and I was like, dude, but it's going to be different this year. They returned 17 guys, man. Like, they took a few transfers. Like, oh, my gosh. Yeah, that's definitely my early whiff so far. I also, in TND Hot Take, said Syracuse was going to beat Tennessee. But for anybody that's made it this long into the podcast, I would just like to clarify, hot takes aren't actually supposed to happen. There should probably be like a 97% chance that it doesn't happen. Probably 98.9, maybe 99.76 if we're truly being honest. But Tennessee fans were pretty upset with me for that. But I make hot takes for you guys. You guys like them. And sometimes, believe it or not, I have gone 6 for 6 before. It takes a miracle, but miracles happen. Okay. But yeah, my biggest whip so far, swing and a miss. Castellanos out to left field was ranking Clemson number 1 in my preseason rankings.
Love that. Good Phillies reference there. And I know when Castellanos hits a homer to left field, I stand up off the couch. Our last segment, we're going to go into the couch cam. Describe to me how you were feeling during a certain play that stood out to you this weekend that had you, whoa, what just happened? How did he make that grab? How is he alive and getting up after getting hit like that? Did you have any of those? And walk me through the reactions.
The LSU get back, dude. The LSU get back had me. I was, after Barry and Brown caught that ball, I think he caught the ball, and they wiped it off the board, and then the LSU kicker got hurt, and they missed the field goal, and then LSU forced a punt right after, and then Garrett Nussmeier and co went right down the field and got in the end zone. I was like, damn. All right, like that's one of those things where I was just like, woo, yeah, it spiced me up. Pause. Okay, that was one of those things I was just like, dude, I love college football, dude. I was like, oh my gosh. And I think every LSU fan at home, whether they were there or not, was like, yeah, we deserve that damn touchdown. And I think sometimes karma works in mysterious ways. And I think that was one way it worked real quick for them. And LSU getting that touchdown right back, I think that was the moment where I was like, yeah, dogs. And yeah, Nussmeier, dog. LSU's offensive line, dogs. LSU wide receivers, dogs. Durham, dog. I was impressed.
Karma disguised itself, but only for a little bit. They got their lick back, and they got it quick. The play that I jumped off the couch for was, unfortunately, I know you're a Lone Star State fella, but I'm going to take it to the Ohio State. The Carnell Tate touchdown catch in the end zone. First, he caught it up here, and then fumbled it, kind of caught it on the back, transferred it to the hip, and managed to come down with it without the ball hitting the ground. Some of these receivers, I don't know if it's the gloves, I don't know if it's the Elmer's stick glue they use before the game on them, or what it is. I don't know how they come up with some of these catches. They're absolutely absurd. I couldn't do it in the backyard with a Nerf football. I don't know how they do it with a real football in front of 100,000 people, with the pressure, with the defense, with the physicality, all of it. I don't know how they do it. It was an elite grab by Mr. Tate.
Yep. Good catch.
They're going to have plenty of good catches coming in week 2 as well.
Great catch, actually. Ohio State fans, if you've made it this far, you're probably going to get mad that I didn't give you any enthusiasm for Carnell. Oh, my gosh, can't speak. For Tate's catch. What a beautiful catch. Beautiful story, too, of him sticking it out, okay? People will try to get him to transfer, threw a lot of money at him. Oregon, what's up, man? They threw a lot of money at him. They wanted him to portal. He didn't portal. Tennessee, what up, man? To you, too. He didn't portal, and he stuck it out, and to his benefit, man, Jeremiah Smith gets so much attention. He gets a one-on-one and takes advantage, and what a beautiful catch. So, yeah, it was definitely impressive.
It went down. It certainly went down, and there will be plenty of games next week, Mr. Sheerin, that are going down as well. Let's take a look just quick at the schedule for week 2, some notable matchups. Iowa at ranked Iowa State, Oklahoma State at Oregon, ranked Ole Miss at Kentucky, South Florida at ranked Florida, an interstate matchup there. Gotta love that. JMU, the shadow of Kurt Signetti at Louisville, ranked Michigan, and ranked Oklahoma. ranked Arizona State and Mississippi State, and Vanderbilt at Virginia Tech. So a couple of games to watch out for in week 2. If you've got picks for them, make sure to drop them under this video. But for Invincible, this has been week 1 of college football season. Kanyen Sheerin, Mr. TND Takeover. Make sure you check him out. I'll put his links in the description, even though he don't need me to. He already big enough. He doing it. Make sure you check him out. College football. If you want to follow it, there's no better place to do it at TND Takeover.
Been a pleasure, been an honor. Great time on here. To the TND people, if you made it this long, you guys have been begging me to start a podcast for years and years. And here's 55 minutes of me talking ball. And good news is we might do it again next week and the weekend after that and the following week. Yeah. So stay tuned for that potentially. Okay. This kid down here, I don't know how he's going to have this formatted. He's doing the editing. He's somewhere in this box close to me. You can see his beautiful face. His name's Vince Wolfram. He went to Auburn. He did a lot of amazing things at Auburn, covered the Final Four, has worked his tail off. He's going to be really great in the sports media sector. So give him love, hype him up, follow him if you want. He's okay. But hype him up for sure. And make sure to thank him for making me do this, because you got a podcast out of it, of me talking ball for approximately 57 minutes now. So I think that's pretty damn good. So yeah, thanks for having me, brother.
Awesome. My guy. I appreciate you, my brother. We'll be back next week talking week 2. And if you're new, make sure to follow, like, and expect some more. But that is Kanyen Sheerin. My name is Vince Wolfram, and this has been Invincible.